Hi everyone, I just saw Caught Stealing and I can't wait to talk to you about it. Alright, so this is starring Austin Butler, Zoe Kravitz, Regina King, Liev Schreiber. This is from the director Darren Aronofsky, who has brought us The Wrestler, The Whale, Requiem for a Dream, and most notably Black Swan. He is a fantastic director, and if you're like me, you probably saw the trailer and went, oh really? Darren Aronofsky is doing this? What looks like a somewhat generic, fun-ish crime caper?
I can take care of his shit.
I can handle it.
But guys, I'm happy to report this is a real solid movie. Now, it's not perfect, but it's real good. And a lot of the reason this movie is good is because of Austin Butler's performance. Austin Butler, between this and Eddington and Dune Part 2, his incredible role in Dune Part 2, as well as Elvis, he's on fire, all right? He's really, really good in this movie. He adds a level of not only like physicality to the role, but also a surprising amount of emotional depth. And that's the biggest thing I can say about this movie. I was surprisingly moved and also quite disturbed at times. This movie, given the trailer, looks like it's just going to be fun, slapsticky crime stuff, but it's quite heavy at times. There's a lot of emotional depth to these characters, and a lot of that is because I think this movie's screenplay is written by the same guy that wrote the book. At least that's what I could get from the credit. It seems like they've taken a cue from David Finch with Gone Girl, where they've got the author of the book to also write the screenplay, and it's a hell of a screenplay at times. But I will say, the first 30 minutes has some real awful exposition, I guess. Like the dialogue between Zoe Kravitz and Austin Butler at times is painfully on the nose, painfully just like, I need a man who's mature. I don't want a man that I have to baby. I don't want a man with alcohol issues. Oh, okay, well, I'll try and work on that, but alcoholism is hard. Like, it's very, very on the nose, very, very like for the audience, which is strange because at a certain point, this movie shifts gears, all right? This movie goes into the crime caper, a darker crime caper than what was advertised, but a crime caper nonetheless. And once it really kicks into gear, this movie doesn't really hold your hand that much. I found the script infinitely surprising, and I just thought the direction was so fun. And it's just weird because the first 30 minutes just has really strange dialogue between Austin Butler and Zoe Kravitz's character. But while we're talking about Austin Butler and Zoe Kravitz's character, I just want to say one thing. I'm here to celebrate because finally I have seen a movie at the cinemas that is allowed to be horny again. The last one I saw was Challenges in terms of like mainstream appeal, but I feel like Hollywood has been so scared to actually just have hot scenes in movies that actually go for longer than 5 seconds and aren't scared to be even just slightly titillating. Like the chemistry between Austin Butler and Zoe Kravitz is palpable, and I just appreciate a movie that knows what it's doing in this regard and knows the type of actors it's working with and knows that, like, let's be honest, a lot of people are here to ogle Austin Butler, and like you get a lot of that. So, and I think he knows it too. I think Austin Butler knows that there's a sense of physicality he's bringing to the role and frankly just like hot boyness, and the movie leans into it, and I appreciate that. Like unironically, I just appreciate a movie that knows what emotions it's going for and actually like engages in it. And not only is that on a sexual level, but on top of that, the violence here is surprisingly gritty and brutal, and the directions and twists and turns this movie takes, you actually feel a lot. And there's surprisingly a lot of violence, but also just a lot of like mean-spirited story beats is the best way I can explain it. But the movie actually makes you sit in this multiple times, and I kind of appreciate that. I almost worry for the people that saw the trailer and were excited by the trailer because I think they're getting something darker and grittier and pulpier. And for me, who was kind of put off by the trailer, I was getting something more my speed. So this is actually quite a high recommendation. The only issue is you need to get through the first 20 minutes where his alcoholism is really kind of over-explained and their relationship is really clunkily delivered for a while. And then once the movie locks into gear, I think it really does step up a level. I haven't really talked about what the story is because I don't want to spoil anything past the first 20 minutes, but really the story here is just that Austin Butler, through his neighbor and doing his neighbor a favor by looking after the neighbor's cat, gets involved in a world of crime that he has no business being a part of. That is literally all I need to give away. That's the compelling plot. You don't need to know more than that. It does feel inspired a bit by the Safdie brothers and a bit by Martin Scorsese, but what I found interesting is you can still see Darren Aronofsky's DNA all over this thing. First off, the color grading for about 98% of this movie, all right? Everything in the present day minus a flashback scene or two looks like The Whale, funnily enough. It has that film grain quality and that really beautiful desaturated look that The Whale had with Brendan Fraser. I love the look of this film. So much energy in the shot composition. There are shots that reminded me of Stanley Kubrick, funnily enough. Now, that might be because I watched Full Metal Jacket for the first time yesterday, but there are these beautiful shots where it will establish Austin Butler in the frame after like 20 seconds, you know? So shots will start at a skyline, focus on a restaurant, and then slowly reveal a bus that Austin Butler is sitting in. So much of the shot composition is exciting. There's that one from the trailer where it's going down the fire escapes between apartments and eventually flashes to Austin Butler coming out of one. It's just beautiful shot composition. And Darren Aronofsky deserves recognition in this department because he knows how to put together a team to make a beautiful looking movie. I love the look of The Wrestler. I love the look of Black Swan. I really love the look of The Whale. And I think this look carries over to Caught Stealing. On top of that, the soundtrack is propulsive. The sound design is fantastic too. There's a hit in the trailer, right, with a baseball bat. And hearing that in the theater, it was like deafening. I was like, oh, that would have hurt. The violence, again, is fantastic. The energy is great. There are all these chase scenes where Austin Butler will be sprinting, and the physicality there is genuinely wonderful. It looks like Austin Butler has kind of beefed up, put on a bit of mass since, say, Dune Part 2 or Eddington, right? He always had that lean physique. He's a bit stockier here, but the physicality he brings to this role is really exciting, even in just the way he's swinging a baseball bat or sprinting down the road. It's real, like a physical performance. And you'll watch the movie and you'll get what I mean. The whole thing feels very physical. And that's the biggest kind of point of, oh, what a shame with this movie is most of the movie, right? 80% of the movie is like an 8 out of 10. It's just some of the dialogue in that early chunk, as well as some flashback scenes that I think could have been executed better. But to talk about that anymore, we'll need to get into spoilers. So before we do, overall, if you are interested in Caught Stealing by the trailers, or if you're interested in Darren Aronofsky seemingly taking a lighter movie, I strongly recommend this. Maybe on a cheap Tuesday, all right? This isn't, for me, one of the top 10 of the year, but I've seen a few people I really respect putting it in their top 10. So I think if you're interested, you will definitely at the least enjoy it, all right? It might not be the most life-changing movie experience, but I think everyone here is trying so hard and putting their all in to deliver a pretty solid movie. And I think that's okay. You know what I mean? Not everything needs to be Sinners, and that's all right. Now let's get into spoilers. 3, 2, 1. Hey guys, before we do, please just consider getting a membership to this channel. Links in the description for both YouTube memberships and Patreon memberships. Every 2 weeks as a part of this membership, you get a podcast where I talk about every single new release I've seen at the cinemas, as well as everything I've watched in my backlog, everything I've watched at home, any shows, movies, books, whatever. It's a podcast of me just yapping. Please consider it. Links in the description again. Thank you so much, and back to the video. So let's talk spoilers. A lot of things I liked in this movie. First off, let's just get into it, all right? So the movie opens, you've got the whole relationship building up. I liked the journey into alcoholism, but at first it felt a little baby's first addiction story. But weirdly enough, you go through a whole arc where Zoe Kravitz is like, I need a man, not a baby. You know, I need someone who can like take care of me. You got to flush the drinks. And for a while, you're like, okay, where's this going? Zoe Kravitz dies very early on in this movie, and I was genuinely waiting for it to be a horrific dream sequence. Like, I was like, there's no way this movie's going there. Like, all the marketing was about how all their sexual tension and like, oh, look at these two. And like, no, she dies really early on, and frankly, quite a sad death too. You saw that she was taking care of this cat for him and like bandaging it up, and the cat's injured, but yeah, she's shot point blank range. It's a brutal reveal. And again, like the way it was presented, I was like, are they gonna kind of wimp out of this? But they didn't, and I was really impressed. And basically from there, the movie just kept getting better and better and better. I loved the whole Jew section with Liev Schreiber and Vincent D'Onofrio. I thought that was really compelling, and I thought they were great characters, like menacing and scary, but also had these moments of humanity. I loved Austin Butler finding the key. I loved this sense of disorientation as well. You're never truly explained the full rivalry and beef and where everyone's allegiances are. You just kind of go on this journey with Austin Butler's character, and I found it infinitely compelling. I also thought Matt Smith as the kind of punk rocker with the mohawk, the neighbor, right? Thought he was a really interesting character. You were mad at him at times, then you also felt empathy for him when he passed away. And that's the thing with this movie. It feels like it's exploring Austin Butler's character, someone who is living with their own shame, living with the pain of having taken someone's life. You can debate whether that's accidental or not, because technically it was manslaughter, right? He'd been drinking, or does it become murder at that point? But regardless, like, he wasn't blameless. And I think everything around that death, I think the whole alcoholism thing was really well handled. And I think the way it parallels what he's going through now is actually really quite compelling, you know, because look at it this way, right? Like, Zoe Kravitz, he technically didn't kill her, right? Like, that isn't his fault directly, but it is kind of by association. He dragged her into this, and he sees a parallel there. Now, I do think the visual communication of these parallels at times did feel a little on the nose, and there's one towards the end that I really didn't like, right? When he takes out Liev Schreiber by intentionally crashing a car. It's a nice full circle moment. It's a nice callback, all right? But did I need it hard cutting from Liev Schreiber to Zoe Kravitz to his friend from the flashback? I'm not sure, right? Because emotionally, it doesn't really connect that way. Like, obviously, every single audience member in the theater is going to make the visual connection, right? Like, the flashback, he crashed a car and killed someone. Present day, he crashes a car and kills someone. But emotionally, it doesn't really quite land. He wanted to kill Liev Schreiber. All right, so I understand him seeing Zoe Kravitz and his friend as one and the same, because he feels like he led to both their deaths, whether he had a part in it or not directly. But with Liev Schreiber's character, I'm like, no, you wanted to kill him. You intentionally wanted to kill him. Like, it doesn't even really make sense that you're communicating to the audience here, like, oh, it's all the same. Like, that felt a little much for me, and that was something that slightly took me out of the movie. But aside from that, I really actually thought it was a nice full circle moment when he starts driving again, only to crash the car again on purpose. I liked when he kind of like leveled up a bit, right? The whole movie, he's a passive character, but not in a way where you find him particularly wimpy or insufferable or annoying. He's a really grounded character who has this dark past. He has this complex around baseball. He's just lost his girlfriend, or kind of sleeping buddy, like whatever you want to call it. But now he's thrown into this world of violence and anger, and he's trying to avoid that. And it just keeps getting worse for him. You know, even when he goes to the bar and those people he cares about are murdered, like, it's a rough moment. You feel all the deaths in this movie, and I think that was the most kind of exciting and interesting thing, was compared to the trailer, which really made this look like a lot of fun, this was a pretty bleak movie at times. Like, you kind of watch everywhere Austin Butler goes, someone he cares about dies, to the point where you're genuinely worried about his mum, who I recognize that voice. It was a real cool cameo. I was like, is that Laura Dern? And then, yeah, it was Laura Dern. So that was all good. And Austin Butler, the big compliment I can give this movie is this isn't just like a wish fulfillment movie where the main character has like main character syndrome, if that makes sense, where it's like, okay, of course he's going to win. Of course he's going to get the money. Of course everything's going to work out. Like, this is a character that is put through the ringer, both in the past and the present, all right? And his present predicament, his present struggles almost feels like this universe, this karmic punishment, you know? And I think the movie actually gets this, I think the movie actually communicates this really well. There's this great scene where Austin Butler's on the phone to his mum, and he says, like, look, mum, like, that thing kind of was my fault. And even if it wasn't, like, I was shitty about that. The only thing I cared about wasn't my dead friend. It was the fact that my knee was fucked up and I couldn't play baseball anymore. And you're like, oh shit, like, that's a real dark thing to have to unpack. And it almost feels like everything he's going through here is like this karmic test to, like, stress his character, right? Put his character to the test, see if the universe can almost force change from him. And watching him slowly go from someone who's trying to run away from this stuff and is scared. I love that scene where he talks to Regina King, the cop, and literally says to her, like, I'm scared of these guys, they're violent, they killed my missus, like, I'm genuinely worried. But watching him snap into place where he starts pulling off cool fight maneuvers, sprinting down the road, getting a baseball bat, causing these car accidents, like, it's all really exciting stuff. And it feels like genuinely earned character growth and character progression. And that's the reason I said in the spoiler free section, like, yes, this isn't a perfect movie and there's some stuff I would change, but it's just so refreshing to see a movie that has so much effort and energy put behind it. There is a care applied to these characters, even in just the way Zoe Kravitz's kind of paramedic stuff is beefed up. You care about her when she's gone. This is a person that had career aspirations, cared about the cat, just wanted to have some like fun, kinky sex with Austin Butler, and now she's dead on the floor. And it's genuinely, there's something quite sad about that, even though I didn't like the early lines where she's saying, I want someone who can take care of me, and they felt a little clunky in both the delivery and the writing. I think you almost needed those lines. Maybe they could have been delivered a little better, because when she dies, you're thinking like, oh, she just wanted someone to take care of her, and now she's dead on the floor. Like, I just thought the characterization around these characters was really, really well done. Even the Jewish guys that show up later, right? Liev Schreiber and Vincent D'Onofrio's characters, these are well-realized characters that have families and people. Like, even when they die, I'm sitting there, even though they were the bad guys and they killed Zoe Kravitz, I'm like, oh, there's that poor, elderly woman that's going to be waiting for them to get back home, and they're never going to get back home. Like, this movie and the script does such a good job of adding all these little character beats and character details, so you actually care about these people before they die. Again, the bar feels lived in, right? I care about both of those people that died. It feels like a living, breathing world that Austin Butler is going through, and this chaos is following him, and everyone's dying as a result. And it's actually quite sad. I found this quite a sad, somber movie, weirdly enough. Like, I wasn't laughing that much. I was actually like, oh shit. And again, like, Liev Schreiber and Vincent D'Onofrio, like, they killed Zoe Kravitz. That's an awful thing to do, but this movie did such a good job of like being like, yeah, they're kind of a mama's boy too, and they've come from this sort of walk of life, and like people, they're gonna have people that are waiting for them and caring about them. And I genuinely think at times this is a really great script, and that's the hard thing about this movie is how great it is almost makes the weaker parts jump out as weaker. If this was Freakier Friday, I probably wouldn't be complaining about things like match cuts. I wouldn't be complaining about how the flashbacks kind of felt a little kind of overbearing at times. This whole flashback sequence, it's a compelling idea, right? The idea that he killed his friend in a drunk driving accident. That's all really good stuff. But at the same time, you're dealing with an Austin Butler that looks AI digitally smooth. I think the color grading and all of it, I know it's meant to be like, oh, this was back when he was happy, so it looks a little ethereal. But when you've got such a beautiful looking movie for 95% of it, but then you're watching this flashback that looks like Netflix movie slop, it takes you out of it a bit. On top of that, as I mentioned, the AI smoothing or digital de-aging of Austin Butler's face. Like, Austin Butler is a good-looking, young-looking dude. Like, just put some makeup on him, hide some crow's feet, shave him a little, it would have been fine. You know what I mean? Like, why couldn't you do that with makeup? Because it looks kind of whack, frankly. And again, these things wouldn't bug me as much if the movie as a whole was a lot more campy and easygoing, but so much of this movie is so well made, and the writing is so strong at times that when it's weak, it jumps out as worse. You know what I mean? So like those early kind of character beats with Zoe Kravitz and Austin Butler, even when Austin Butler is drunk and he's saying to Zoe Kravitz, like, I used to have it all and now I have nothing. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't conveyed in a way where it's like, oh, well, this is just a simple character that doesn't know how to communicate well. Twinless is a movie where the character is quite dim-witted, but what they say feels organic and natural. And in those early 20, 25 minutes, so much of the dialogue just felt a little clunky. And that's a shame, because my big contention here is I totally am fine with people having this in their top 10, their top 5 of the year. For me, this is so close. It's like an 8 or a 9 out of 10. I'm going to have to land on a 7 out of 10, but it fills me with so much sadness because I think so much of this movie is so well done. Like, Matt Smith's death was sad. All of the deaths were quite sad. The chase scenes are so energetic. The movie looks stunning. So much fantastic camera work. Sound design is popping off. It's just occasionally in this great, great script, some clunky bad screenwriting pops up and goes, hello, hi, I'm here too. And it's just slightly like, what happened? Anyways, thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you're interested and for some reason have watched this review, go check out Caught Stealing. Please consider getting memberships to this channel like I mentioned before. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a lovely day. Thank you so much for watching.